Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. Today's guest is Andrea Beaman. Andrea Beaman is a natural foods chef, health educator, thyroid expert, holistic health coach, and herbalist dedicated to alternative healing and sustainable eating and living. Andrea was a featured contestant on Bravo's Top Chef. She is a regularly featured expert on CBS News and the hosted award-nominated Fed Up, a cooking show that educates viewers how to cook for and cure their bodily ailments. Andrea is recognized as one of the top 100 most influential people in health and fitness, received the Award for Excellence in Health Supportive Food Education from the Natural Gourmet Institute for Food and Health, as well as the Health Leadership Award from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. As a keynote speaker and teacher, Andrea inspires audiences to take action on their health. She teaches engaging cooking demos and health programs to students and clients through the live conferences, schools, and online programs, reaching vast audiences around the world. Andrea is the author of The Whole Truth, How I Naturally Reclaim My Health, and You Can Too, and the Eating and Recipe Guide, Better Food, Better Health, and Health is Wealth. Make a delicious investment in you and happy, healthy thyroid, the essential steps to healing naturally. Andrea makes learning about better health, good food, and sustainable living a fun experience for everyone. On today's episode with Andrea, we talk about the fact that she and her husband both have the COVID-19 virus, how they're coming through it, they're healing, and they're almost done. So theirs were more like a bad flu. We talk about things to do to boost your immune system and how to take care of your health so that you're more likely to come through it with flying colors, survive it, just ways you could help yourself. We talk a lot about that, and then we dive into how Andrea healed her thyroid gland and got rid of a goiter through natural health, changing her diet, and exercise, and just all the natural ways you could heal your thyroid. And we also dive into lowering your cortisol levels and how to get rid of a menopause. She'd never heard the term before. So if you haven't heard the term before, it's basically like pot belly, menopause belly. So menopause. And she had a lot of really good tips on that and how we should support our liver, clean out the liver, and other ways to de-stress, to pay attention to the warning signs of the body and get to the root cause of things instead of suppressing symptoms, masking symptoms, get to the root cause of what's going on in the body. Andrea had so many good tips. This was such a great conversation. I can hardly believe she didn't feel well, but she really didn't when I first got a hold of her. I almost thought about calling off the podcast, but it turned out to be one of our better shows. So you guys, she's Personality Plus. I love Andrea. She's one of my most downloaded episodes on the podcast. Every time she comes on, off the charts, you guys. So enjoy this episode. Hey, you guys, I have one of your favorite guests on today. She's always one of the most downloaded podcasts I have. It is Andrea Beaman with us today. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here with the sisterhood.
That's it. And pounding from afar, fist bump from more than 6 feet away because you live in New York, right?
I live in the epicenter of the coronavirus right now.
Yeah, you're right in the heart of it.
Oh my God.
Tell me about what that's like.
Well, we got it. Both me and my husband got it. And it was like a flu times 4, right? So you take a flu, times it by 4, and stay in bed for 2 weeks straight with pains and aches and still a little verklempt. But it'll pass. God willing for, for most of us, it'll come in and it'll go out and it'll leave a little bit of ravage, a little bit of cellular damage, but we can fix that. We can heal that, you know, high dosing on the vitamin C and all the other good stuff, collagen.
Tell us some of the tips and the tricks that you've used to get over this virus. I know you have them.
Oh, I got them. Well, we had fever. Both of us had fever for 3 nights in a row, really high. But that was it. It was just 3 nights. So I'm hearing stories from people that are in a fever for 2 weeks straight, which
Wow.
is crazy. There's
Yes.
so much damage to the body.
Wow.
So what we did was when the fever came, we didn't try and put out the fever. No,
Because
we
it kills
got,
the virus, right?
yes, you want the fever because the body heats up for a purpose. It's heating up because it's trying to kill the virus because the virus can't survive in that hot environment. So when the fever came, into the bed, under the covers, sweating, making sure that that heat was there, and we actually promoted it. Um, and so our fevers lasted for 3 days. Thank God. There's
Oh my
3 days.
gosh.
Yeah. And then, of course, lots of hydration, drinking lots of herbal teas and lots of fluid to help clear the mucus and clear the congestion out of the lungs, and keeping the lungs moisturized, right? So one of the main symptoms of coronavirus is a dry cough, right? The dry cough, which is also damaging. So you have to make sure that there's moisture. So we were doing thyme herbal steams, drinking lots of water throughout the day and lots of herbal teas. It's just doing everything that we could to manage the symptoms because in New York right now, the hospitals are at capacity, right? So you can't get in there. You got to manage your symptoms. You got to get in your bed and you got to manage your symptoms the best that you can. And that's what we did. So we're on the tail end now. He's on day 15. I'm on day 13 or day 12, something like that. And we don't have any more of the major symptoms. But he lost his sense of smell for 3 days, and I lost mine for 3 days as well. And it just came back a couple days ago, thank God, because
I know,
food,
because food tastes terrible. You're like, ugh, I was
it's,
cardboard.
yes, everything tasted like water, right? Like, there was no flavor at all. So the taste and the smell came back. Now I still just have a little bit of congestion and some lethargy, but I think that'll resolve in a couple days.
So I totally am on the same page with you. You can actually on the video, you can see how green my shake is. I call it everything but the kitchen sink shake because it has everything in it. And I thought, well, the swelling is what kind of actually ends up killing people off with this
Yeah.
COVID thing because their lungs swell and then they can't breathe. And
Yeah.
so I thought, well, how can we lessen inflammation? So one of the things I've done almost every day was turmeric and tart cherry, drinking a lot of water, like you said, also hot beverages, to
Yes.
clear whatever's in there. And this is my one Linda Lou remedy. I gargled with like antiseptic. Like I just gargled because I was just like, and I just figured, it couldn't hurt to gargle with antiseptic. This stuff, they say it lives in your throat a little bit before it goes
Yes.
on down. I did that, and I like this spray that you spray up in the nose. It's not like a neti pot, but it's called Xlear. They're not my sponsor, but it's a product I use. It has like saline and then xylitol to inhibit any kind of bacterial growth. And so I would just clean and moisten my nasal passages every morning and night.
Good.
Um, so I feel like you, Andrea, I feel like I had it because I had the whole lack of smell, lack of taste, the runny nose, the headache, the sore throat. I never did have a fever, and I never really had a dry cough. But that whole no tasting and no smelling, I mean, my husband and I both. So I feel like that having a healthy immune system is crucial all the time, but especially right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree. I agree. It's like it's a little scary, like seeing all the stuff that's happening in the city. Like everybody's afraid. Everybody's afraid, and I don't have fear. Like even when the disease came, I was more nervous for my husband than myself. But I knew that the body will go into healing mode. It'll go into self protection. Um, the one thing that moving forward is what I'm curious about is they don't know whether or not we'll have resistance to it in the future because like they say that like I think it's 50% right now develop antibodies and 50% are not. So everything is still up in the air with whether or not you'll get immunity once you get the coronavirus. So the possibility of getting it a second time or a third time is real right now.
Okay, so I'd heard you couldn't, but I also heard you could. So I was like, I don't know.
Right,
Like,
we don't know.
yeah,
It's a big mystery. So you have to keep your immune system as strong as possible because if you do get it a second time, your body has to go back into that fighting phase. It's got to step up and it's got to
yeah,
say, okay, immune systems, NK cells, get over there, macrophages, clean up the lymph. It's got to get into action. So we're in the we don't know phase right
right,
now, right?
right.
As it's
Yeah,
spreading like wildfire around the planet.
yep. It's certainly been a learning experience in all ways.
Yeah.
I think I can find so much gratitude right now. Uh, if you look for gratitude, you can find things to be grateful for. I feel like we took so many things for granted.
Yeah. And Linda, what's interesting? This disease begins and ends in the lungs, right? So it's affecting the lungs. And what we've done to the lungs of the planet over the past 50 years, cutting down swaths of the rainforest, that's the lungs of the planet. So it's almost like karma in a way, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Human beings are now getting this disease that is affecting our lungs,
Right.
right? Our respiratory system. And, we have to really take a look around and say, well, what have we done? What have we done to the earth? What have we done to the trees? What have we done to the planet's lungs? And now humans, because we're not separate from the planet, we're intimately connected to the planet that we live on. So it's a wake up call, I think.
I do think that myself as well, for so many reasons, so many things. Like, just being grateful for, being able to go outside and run down the street and see people, and
Yeah.
just have a social gathering and have toilet paper on hand.
Oh, the toilet paper thing was the best. I mean, people are running out and buying tons and tons of toilet paper. And I kept looking at that and I was thinking, get cans of tuna fish, get things that are going to, help you survive. You could always use a washcloth over and over and over again if things get really bad. But, but I understand it from an ancient healing perspective, like the chakras, they have, the chakra system in Ayurvedic medicine.
Right.
First chakra is our survival, right? Our survival, and that's your colon, right? Here comes this virus that's taking out people, and people are like,
Oh
let's
my
get
gosh,
toilet
that is
paper.
so accurate. Your colon survival
Yeah,
mode. That's what I've been saying the whole time. Is at first I was freaked, and then I was like, oh, I got this, survival mode. Like,
yeah,
I have been through tougher things in my life. And so I was like, okay, survivor mode. And the whole thing with the toilet paper, I feel like it was, well, I asked somebody, why is everybody buying up the toilet paper? And she's like, because it comes from China.
oh my God.
She was afraid, I guess, China was going to cut off our supply. But I
That's
don't know
funny.
what the real reason. I think it was more like people needed something to do to feel like they were doing something.
Yeah,
You know? Oh my gosh.
yeah. Oh, we're going to make it through this. Human beings are pretty resilient. We're going to make it through. The vast majority of us are going to make it through this.
Yes. And the other thing is it just makes you reflect on where you're at in life, right? And
Yeah.
so I think it is a time to reflect and just kind of get all your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Make sure you're living the life you want to be living.
Hell yeah, sister.
Right? It only goes around once. Well,
That's
some
right.
of us believe it goes around, many times.
That's funny. You remember Sylvia Browne, the psychic?
Yeah.
So she wrote a book in 2008 called The End of Days. And in the book, she talks about this lung disease that is going to come in 2020, and it'll come and it'll, wipe out the population, and then it'll disappear, and then it'll come back. And she said, she goes, and for some reason, she goes, I can't see beyond 2100 for human beings. So the book was called The End of Days. And it's a fascinating read, and because she talks about all the different philosophers and the seers and all the people, the prophets and the prophecies and what religion said about the end of days. So it's not like a scary book. Oh God, we're all going to die. But it's more like, okay, eventually human beings are going to be maybe not here anymore, right? There's going to be a time when we're like not on the planet anymore.
Well, that's an interesting. My grandma says you got to be prayed up. So you need to be ready for when it is the end. And
Right.
I'm like, ooh. I'm like, maybe I need to get Revelation out again in the Bible, because I'm like, I feel like we're living in that time right now, So it does make you reflect in all ways, I think, and you just you think about the fact that we're not, eternal. Like, I mean, as far as
in the physical body.
Yeah. So
yeah.
How are you eternal? So it really leads to like some interesting discussions. And I know, like, for you've already been through something. You know what survivor mode is, because once upon a time you had this thyroid, issue, and you healed yourself from having, I don't know if I want to call it thyroid disease, but like.
Yeah, it was thyroid disease.
Okay. I know it sounds weird, but like.
Yeah.
I know, right? But your thyroid wasn't functioning right.
Right.
And you literally healed yourself with.
Yeah. Well, I had a large goiter, and I was diagnosed when I was 28 years old with hyperthyroid, because I was having these terrible, terrible heart palpitations and anxiety, and my immune system kept crashing, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And my doctor was like, oh, hyperthyroid. We need to radiate your thyroid, and then you'll be on medication for the rest of your life. And I was like, I don't want radiation. I don't want any of that. I'm only 28 years old. And I said, I need to change my diet and my lifestyle. My doctor was like, your diet and your lifestyle have nothing to do with your disease. And I was like, well, I get that that's what you've been taught. I said, but I know that I eat crap. I know that my lifestyle is crap. I know that I'm drinking coffee all day long and eating sugar all day long. I know that can't be good for me. And
Right.
I'm eating Skittles and M&Ms and those are my energy sources. I said, I know I need to change. And I changed my diet, and my goiter started shrinking. Heart palpitations went away. My thyroid condition went from hyper to hypo to Hashimoto's, which showed that it didn't have to do with my thyroid in the first place. It was an autoimmune condition. It had to do with my body's inability to modulate the immune response, and it was in an overreactive state, and it had more to do with my gut than my thyroid. It had like nothing to do with my thyroid. It had to do with my gut, and my thyroid was just the target, right, for the Hashimoto.
Wow,
it was just the target.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. So had I radiated my thyroid, I would have never known that I had an autoimmune condition ever. And I would still be on medication to this day. So changed my diet, changed my lifestyle. Goiter went away. It took about 18 months for the goiter to totally go away. And my thyroid became normal. And then in times of stress, when my stress is really high, I feel an imbalance. So I know that when the stress is high, the autoimmune condition comes back up to the surface, right? So, meditation helps, breathing, exercise, good food. So many things help to manage the condition so that it doesn't ruin your life. And you don't have to be on medication for the rest of your life, right? Because that's a long time, your life. At least for most people, right? It should be, you should be energized and healthy and happy for the majority of the time that you're in your body, instead of popping a pill every single day to manage a condition when that's not actually managing the condition. It's probably suppressing the condition, right? Not healing anything for sure. Like, for example, we were talking about coronavirus, right? So when the fever came, had I taken something to take away the fever, well, they're now saying that the people that are taking fever lowering medication, when their disease is lasting longer, and they're getting a much more severe case of coronavirus. So, let the body do what it needs to do and just support it in the healing process, help it, assist the body, right? So that's what I did with my thyroid disease. I assisted my body in healing instead of shut up, thyroid. Let's shut you down. Let's radioactive iodine. Let's kill you, right? Kill the messenger. That's not what we want to do.
Get to the root cause of what's causing the condition versus masking it and suppressing it.
That's correct. That's correct.
If somebody is on like Synthroid for 20 years, can they get off of it?
Yeah. I mean, if they still have a thyroid, if they still have it, if they haven't had a thyroidectomy or a piece of it off, the Synthroid, it's interesting. Both Synthroid and levothyroxine, these are for hypothyroid conditions. And what they do is they're mimicking thyroid hormone, right? They're mimicking T3, T4, they're mimicking that. So if your thyroid no longer has to produce the T3 and the T4, then it's like it goes to sleep. It says, okay, good night. I'm not really needed here. I'm going to just go to sleep for 20 years. Sleeping Beauty, we'll call it. So it takes time to get off the medication, because during that time you want to stimulate the thyroid, so it starts to produce the thyroid hormone, right? You also want to nourish the liver during this process, because the majority of T4 to T3 conversion happens in the liver. It's also happening in the kidneys and the bones, but the majority is happening in the liver. So you just can't stop taking your medication because your body will crash. You've got to support the production of the thyroid hormone with iodine-rich foods, whether that's seafood, seaweeds, good quality salted products. And when I say good quality, I'm not talking about like wheat thins, right? Or saltine crackers. That's not what I'm talking about. You want good quality iodine-rich foods so that your thyroid can actually produce the T4 and the T3, and then you want that conversion of T4 to T3 to happen in the liver. So you also have to support the liver. So one of the things that happens when someone's on thyroid medication for 15 years or 20 years, they have to get their liver tested, right? Because then the liver starts to, the liver can, you could get elevated liver enzymes. You could have problems that are happening with the liver because the underlying condition was never addressed, whether it was a sluggish lymphatic system or a sluggish liver, or they didn't have the right nutrients to create the hormones that you needed. So there's a process to getting the thyroid to wake up again. And you have to be patient with it. And a lot of times we don't have patience in modern world, right? We don't have patience to rest. We don't have patience to eat well, right? We want everything out of a box or a container, or let's throw it in the microwave, right? Not good for the thyroid either.
Yeah, right. Instant gratification.
That's correct, right?
What are some ways we can support our liver during this process?
Okay, so supporting the liver. The first thing is probably getting off the fried fatty foods, getting off the crap, right? The liver has to metabolize everything, right? It's breaking down even, like even when we eat good quality foods, let's say we eat greens, your liver still has to metabolize a lot of the stuff. Like in any food, even in the healthiest food, you have anti-nutrients that come into the body. And the liver has to break that down and metabolize it. We have phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. So what we need are foods that support the liver, as well as fasting supports the liver. So traditionally, in cultures around the world, there were periods of fasting. In every religion, there were periods of fasting. Like in Catholicism, they had Lent, right, where you fasted for 40 days, 40 nights, or, it was a specific fast, right? They took out meats on Friday. Like it was much stricter, 1,000 years ago. Now it's like, oh, no meat on Friday, right? But prior to that, it was like no alcohol, no meat, no, right? It was much stricter. And you even had Jesus, right? Jesus went into the desert and fasted for a period of time.
Just water.
Totally, water fasting. So the fasting helps the body go into a state of autophagy where it starts to eat up all of the bad things that are in the body. It also gives the liver a break from having to constantly metabolize our food. Fasting, I think we naturally did it. We would finish eating 5, 6 o'clock at night, and then we wouldn't eat again until the next day, 9 o'clock in the morning. So what we call intermittent fasting today was just the way that people traditionally...
That's the way I grew up.
Yes. But nowadays, most people will be eating right up until the time that they go to bed.
Right.
It's terrible for the liver. Terrible. Because the liver in Chinese medicine, you have... the gallbladder and the liver are a complementary organ system, and the time that they need their window for resting is 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., right? So if you have food in your system, let's say you finish eating at 10 o'clock, you're still digesting through the whole time. Even if you finish eating at 9 o'clock, you're still digesting through the whole time that the liver and the gallbladder have to rest. Right, so we're damaging our livers in so many ways in the modern world. So I'm not surprised that we have such high rates of cancer. I'm not surprised that we have such high rates of thyroid disease. I'm not surprised about that stuff because we're not supporting our liver. We're not taking care of our bodies in a healthy way. Mostly, like you were talking about, instant gratification. We want everything quick and fast and. We need to be patient. We need to be kind with our bodies. We need to be loving. We need to support our bodies and our minds and our hearts, the whole system.
The whole system?
The whole system.
I mean, I can't leave something out.
No.
Right? I mean, like people think, I'm going to eat all these greens. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to meditate, but I'm going to have a crappy relationship with, I don't know, a narcissist or somebody like, some terrible relationship where you're stressed out to the max. And that just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You're right. It does not work.
It's the whole enchilada, the whole system, like you said.
Yeah.
Now, somebody told me I could take high doses of coconut oil to help heal the thyroid. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I mean, I love when people always want to find the one thing, right? They look for the one thing. So if you take high doses of coconut oil, it's going to stimulate the liver and the gallbladder.
You're going to go to the bathroom a lot.
Yeah, it's going to move everything. You're going to lubricate the system internally. You're going to move everything out. You're going to clear the lymph, right? But you also, let's say you don't exercise and you're taking high doses of coconut oil. Well, what's going to happen with the lymphatic system? It's going to get congested because it's carrying the dietary fats. So if the lymphatic system gets congested, the thyroid's naturally going to slow down. It's naturally going to slow down. It's going to be like, okay, I can't, there's too much sludge in this system. What are we supposed to do, right? So, I love when people point to the one thing. So if they're taking, like, coconut oil is amazing. It's got monolaurin in it. It's antiviral. It's great for lubrication. But you need to exercise. You need to be able to make sure that you're breaking down those fats, right? So let's say the gallbladder is congested, or they have bile sludge, right? It's when the bile is too thick, too viscous. It doesn't release from the gallbladder well, right? So then if they start taking high doses of coconut oil, they're going to get let's get the gallbladder removed. The
Oh,
gallbladder
yeah,
now,
but we need our gallbladder. Why are
right?
you taking our gallbladder out?
Right, because they're not getting to the root cause, right? The
Okay.
root cause is there's something going on within the system that it's causing the bile to become too thick, and it's not releasing from the gallbladder, right? So if you're taking high doses of coconut oil and you have your bile is too thick and sludgy, then your next thing you know, okay, let's go. You got gallbladder disease. Let's take the gallbladder out. So I think we always want the one thing, but it's never the one thing. It's the everything.
Oh, gosh, that has got to be the title of this podcast.
It's the everything.
It's not the one thing, it's the everything.
Yeah.
You are always good for one-liners, and the one that I remember you the most, well, I don't know, there's two. You can't eat a crap sandwich and
Yeah.
feel like, you're going to be healthy. And the other was Lucky Charms, multi-grain Lucky Charms are crack in a box.
It's true.
Oh my gosh. But it is, and that's the
Yeah.
best way to get it to people so that they understand, just because somebody, labels your product multi-grain does not mean it's even remotely healthy.
That's correct. That's all marketing and advertising. And those marketers and advertisers are fantastic at their job. They're everywhere. Like, not only with the crack in the box, the Fruity Pebbles and all the other stuff that is marketed to kids, but even to us adults, right? So when you look in the health and wellness industry, we're being marketed to all the time. The one supplement that's going to heal the everything. So now, like, the new thing, like even with the coronavirus, people are like, I need to take mega doses of vitamin C. Okay, but what else? What else are you doing? Like, the vitamin C will help to build the collagen. The vitamin C is not a cure for coronavirus, right? It helps to thin the mucous membranes, right? So to help you breathe a little better, but it's never the one thing. So somebody will be like eating boxes of pizza, but taking mega doses of vitamin C and going, how come I'm not healing? Why?
You got to know that's probably somebody that's at least 80% of my listeners. No, I'm just kidding. It's got to hit. It's nailing some of us. We're like, crap. She's been in my medicine cabinet when I'm downing the vitamin C, but I just had, a crap sandwich before.
Yes. But I think it's the way that we have our society set up. Like, we're always looking for the one thing, like literally always looking for the one thing. And every single thing will have its decade, right? So in the 80s, it was broccoli. Broccoli came, and broccoli everything, and broccoli, right? And then it was blueberries. Blueberry in the everything, and put the blueberry. Avocados, right? Everything has its year or its decade. Flax, remember flax in the 70s? Flax oil, put flax oil in everything. So we have to try and turn off the television, turn off the radio, turn off the advertisements, or listen to them with a discerning ear, right? And when discerning means that you're not judging it, but you're saying, is this right for me? And is this right? We're just looking at it from a much bigger perspective. Right? Because again, it's never the one thing. It's never the pile of broccoli that saves you from cancer, right? People are like, I got cancer. What should I eat? Cruciferous vegetables. And then all they eat is cruciferous vegetables or the brassicaceae family vegetables, and they forget about everything else. So I think we're living in cuckoo for Cocoa Puff times.
Oh, now we get a new one. You
That's
you did
right.
not you did not disappoint me today. I think it's a medley. Just kind of think about a colorful plate, how it looks when
Mm,
you make a beautiful salad, a beautiful dinner with all the different colors and the different vegetables and fruits of the season. Maybe nature did have a handle on what you
yeah.
need at different times of year.
Right on the head, sister. You hit it right on the head. So, like, for example, wintertime. Uh, well, you're in Ohio, and you guys get some cold winters too.
Yes, this winter has not been cold.
This winter's been like summer. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah,
But normally in the wintertime, this is the best time for like hearty stocks and stews and meat broths. And you really want to nourish the bone structure in the body. And
right.
then in the summertime in New York City, when it's 97 degrees, there's not one cell in my body that's saying, hey, get the beef stock going. Get the beef stock on the stove. It's saying, no, give me like a watermelon salad. Give me a smoothie, right?
Something cool.
Yes, totally. Totally. So nature knows, right? In the summertime, watermelon, cantaloupes, fruits are like flopping off the trees, right? And we're not paying attention, right? We don't pay attention. Salads. Oh my God, a nice, beautiful, cool, refreshing salad on an August day. Like there's like I don't want anything heavy and dense, and
Right.
I want it light. I want it to be just literally passing through, so to speak. Right? So we have to look at nature a little closer. And again, this brings me back to what we talked about earlier. We have to look at nature. What have we done to nature? We've been cutting down the rainforests, right? We've been taking out
Right.
the lungs of the planet,
Right.
right?
There's there for a reason.
Exactly. We're poisoning the water. We're poisoning the soil.
And the
Uh,
animals.
the animals, the way that we're keeping animals is insane. Insane. We need to have reverence for the creatures that are on the planet. I'm not anti eating animal food, but the way that we keep the animals is so inhumane. So the animals that we purchase from the farmer's market, from the butcher shop that has the farm upstate New York. We're very cautious about where we get the animal products from, because I don't want to eat an animal that has been tortured or kept a slave for my desires. You know, uh, we really need to rethink the whole thing, the whole system, the whole way that we have things set up. We have to rethink all of that. And until we do, I think that we're going to keep getting viruses that are popping out like this to cull our population, because human beings are unsustainable. We're not a sustainable species. That's for sure. At least not the way that we're set up now.
Yeah, we have really been trashing our planet, and
Yeah.
this is a time to think about how do we want to take care of the planet that has been taking care of us for centuries.
Yes.
And I just think, like I said before, it's a time of reflection, and then afterwards, hopefully, it's going to be a time of great response.
Yeah. Now you're talking. Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people out there are so stressed out right now because maybe they worked at a restaurant, or
Mm,
maybe they do hair, or, like I had to close my gym, but we've been doing virtual training, virtual
good.
classes. But like somebody's cortisol response is just off the charts, and their stomach is blowing up like a balloon. What are some tips for somebody out there that's stressed to the max and they need to get that cortisol under control?
Okay. So, the first thing that I would recommend is breathing and meditation. right? So you want to get into parasympathetic nervous system. So when people are stressed out, they're breathing up here. They're breathing up in their chest. So you want to actually bring your breath down into the lower abdomen, and really there are tons of classes that people could take online, and you probably are giving classes as well. You know what I mean? That people could learn how to breathe, learn how to meditate, prayer, right? Prayer, just coming back and let go and let God, right? What it's out of, if it's out of your control, let it be out of your control. If you're going to try and control everything, you're going to stress yourself out. So control the things that you can and let go of everything else, right? As far as food to bring the cortisol down and to bring the stress down, all the adaptogenic herbs as well as licorice root. These are the herbs that are, let's say, ginseng, ashwagandha. Those are probably two of my favorites, adaptogens, because they help your body handle stress better, right? So the stress response is going to be there, but they help you to handle the stress better. Ashwagandha is amazing for relaxing the nervous system. Chamomile tea. A soothing cup of chamomile tea. So you don't have to go very far for chamomile tea. It helps to relax the nervous system. It's a natural nervine. I remember.
Great. We're all going to be cracking out the chamomile.
Yes. I remember back in the 70s when I was growing up, like every restaurant had chamomile tea, right? It's soothing, it's relaxing. What do you want after you're eating, or even before you're eating? You want your digestive system to be relaxed, because if you're stressed and you're in sympathetic nervous system, you're not digesting. You're not digesting. You're going to get bloated. You're going to get distended. So we need to be in parasympathetic nervous system. We need to calm the nervous system down. We need the nervines. Even a cup of mint tea is considered a nervine, right? So for those people that are going coffee, 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 what's happening with the stress response? Through the roof, right? Stress, adrenaline, cortisol, right? Everything's going to be on hyper. So we want to calm the system down as much as possible, because as soon as you turn on your phone in the morning, you're going to get the news feed that said 1,000 people died yesterday in this one city. And that's going to put you into a state of high stress. But if you can, don't start the day with this, right? Start the day with breathing. Start the day with meditation or prayer. Start the day with stretching, gentle stretching. And then when you're in a relaxed state, then you can go and you can see the news, because you'll be in a different frame of mind. If you wake up in the morning, you go right to the news and it's telling you that coronavirus has now taken over the whole world, right? Where's your stress response?
Up. Take 10 minutes, only 10, because, I just give them 10 minutes to tell me the news.
That's it. And then fill the rest of your day with activities that you love. Read a book. Sit with someone that you love. Play a game of Scrabble. Right? Now that you're on lockdown in the house, do something that is going to bring you joy. Paint, draw, sing, dance around the house. Take a class.
I love it.
Take an exercise class, but do something that's going to nourish you instead of kill you, like literally kill you, because the stress is the number one killer. Coronavirus may be in the news right now as the big thing that's killing everybody. I'm gonna tell you that stress is still the number one killer in the world.
So now you're speaking to this stress. A woman in menopause gets a menopause. Is this hormones or is this stress? Why is she getting a menopause?
Wait, what's a menopause?
It is a menopause belly.
Oh my God, that's so cute. Okay, so a menopause belly. This brings us back to the liver.
It's not cute like pregnancy, though. She doesn't.
No, but the word menopause. I know, like right? Pot belly. That's very
like,
cute.
What is she talking about?
I was like, I never heard of a menopause. So that brings us back to the liver. So remember that the liver is responsible for metabolizing all the hormones and all the everything. So when a woman's going through menopause, her hormones are changing, they're shifting in a big way. So do you remember when you were a teenager, hormones were shifting in a big way, and as a teenager we start to grow boobs, we start to get more plump, the body starts to shift. So now your body's going through another shift, but this time the estrogen needs to be broken down because we're going into almost like an estrogen deficiency phase of life, where at first we were going into the estrogen, the boosting of the hormones. Now we're going into almost like a deficiency phase. But the liver needs to process all of the estrogens that are already in the body and break them down. So now the liver is getting stressed. So when the liver gets stressed, then the first phase of your digestive system also slows down and gets stressed, right? Again, so we have to support the liver through menopause. And one of the best ways to do that is with an herb called red clover, right? So red clover is phytoestrogenic. So it's going to start to, we have estrogen receptors everywhere. So it's going to start to replace the estrogen that's being broken down, and you're going to get this softer estrogen in the body, right? And it's also supportive to the lymphatic system and supportive to the liver. So I think that red clover is a highly underused, simple herb that is probably growing in everybody's backyard, and we take it out like a weed. But it's so good for the supporting of the process of going through menopause.
That is great. Oh, so much great info.
Yeah, I'm going through menopause right now. I'm 52, and the the cycle is getting, like it's sometimes there every 28 days, and then I'll skip a month. So I'm going through that process as well, and I didn't experience the weight gain that a lot of women experience, but I think it's because. I have all my herbs, right? I use my herbs on a regular basis. I'm still relaxed as much as possible. I did go through a couple of months of a depression as, like it was like the dying of the fertile phase, right?
Yeah.
So there's a death of fertility, and that it's a process
It's weird. It's a weird feeling because you're crossing over. You feel like
Yes.
you're crossing from this phase to this phase, and it's no going back.
Yeah, it's literally a death. It's a death of
Yeah.
a certain phase of your life, and it can be depressing, like with any death.
Yeah.
Right? We get depressed. So it's the death of the fertile phase, but it is the birth, because there's always yin and yang. There's death and birth all the time. It's the death of the fertile phase, but it is the birth of the sage, the birth of the crone, the birth of the wise woman, right? So you've had all of this life experience, and now you are the wise elder that people come to for advice, or classically, like in traditional medicine and in tribal medicine, there was always the wise elder, the wise woman that people would come to and say, well, I need help with this, or I need this medicine, the medicine woman, right? So we need to transition to that phase of life where now we're not looked at as the fertile goddess. Now we are the wise sage. We are the wise woman.
Embrace every phase, right?
Yep.
I think
That's all we can
sometimes
do.
change is hard because we haven't been in the unknown of that phase. We don't know what it's going to be like, what it's going to bring. You hear the horror stories, and I think like just finding that that normal that you want, support that like with facts. Like if I see that Jane Fonda looks like freaking amazing, like at 80 some years old, there's proof out there that I
Yeah,
can too look amazing at 80 some years old.
that's
Be
correct.
healthy and be of sound mind. So I think just looking for the facts that confirm what you want to have is the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. Like Louise Hay.
Yes.
Yeah, so she was this positive
Right.
thinking, motivational person. And I used to go to see her all the time when she came to New York. And she came to New York when she turned 80. she was 82 when she got here for one of her things. And she got out on stage and she said to the audience, and she looked fantastic, man. She had this bright spirit and just, this glow about her that was just this vibrant energy. And she comes out on stage and she looks at the audience and she goes, you know what I told my staff when I turned 80? She said, this is going to be my best decade ever. Right? So here she is, 80, still working, still, teaching people. I think she died last year at 92 or something like that, but was still up until the end vibrant, full faculties.
And what the key thing you said, what she told herself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is in what you tell yourself. Like, you could tell yourself, I'm old, I'm too old, I'm decrepit, I'm tired, I'm depressed, I'm like, you could tell yourself all this stuff. But I think when you tell yourself and you set that goal and you make that declaration, this is going to be my best decade ever when you're 80 years old, that right there says it all, because it's all about what you're saying to yourself.
Yes, that's the wise elder.
I know. She comes out sometimes. I let her out to play. Oh my gosh. I know. It's right. I didn't have all this wisdom when I was 30.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It comes with time. And raising 3 kids. I raised 3 kids to grown-up adults, and they're self-sufficient.
That's nice. You're a good egg.
Hey, I'm just saying, it's like you don't get all that experience without some accolades.
That's right. That's right.
Well, this has been the best conversation today with you, Andrea. And I know you have a book and a course, Happy Healthy Thyroid. Can you tell everybody about it and how they can sign up if they wanted to get a healthy thyroid?
Oh, yeah. So especially because now they may be on lockdown and they want to do an online course, it's online. So my book is Happy Healthy Thyroid, The Essential Steps to Healing Naturally. And you could get that at andreabeaman.com. And my course is Nourishing Thyroid Program. And it's a 4-month online course. And it's a lot of fun. And I take you through the steps of diet, lifestyle, consciousness, spirit, energetics connected to the thyroid, the ability to speak your truth in a healthy, happy way without judging and blaming and all that stuff. There's a lot to nourishing this beautiful little gland. And there's also a reason why more women are diagnosed with thyroid disease than men. They express themselves way more than we do in a healthy way. Like a lot of women will suppress what they want to say. They'll, I should be a good girl. I shouldn't say that, right? They keep it inside. So I cover all of the steps, and that program starts on April 22nd. They could go to my website for information about that, andreabeaman.com, and all the information will pop up. I'm always happy to teach and share. I love this stuff.
Well, I just want to acknowledge you so much on helping everybody find their voice out there, right? We don't want to suppress it.
No.
No suppression, but I just want to acknowledge you on being so well-versed on all of the herbs and the sciences, the chakras, everything that kind of supports the body in the non-traditional way.
We need it now more than ever.
Yeah, because I think people out there don't really recognize, if they're in, Western medicine, how much they're truly missing. So make sure you guys tap into all things Andrea at her website. Andrea, is it andreabeaman.com?
That's it.
And you'll find a lot of what we talked about today. And she's got so many blog posts and great information up there. So make sure to check her out. And I just want to thank you again for being such a great guest.
Oh, thank you for having me, sister.
Thank you. Namaste, everybody. Have a great day. And thanks everybody for listening to the Sisterhood of Sweat.